What if I told you there's a car so devastatingly beautiful that when it sold at auction, it broke every record in automotive history, selling for a mind-blowing $142 million? That's more money than most countries spend on their entire military. And here's the crazy part. People are still trying to buy it for even more money today, but that's just the beginning. Today we're counting down 12 timeless classic cars that don't just hold their value, they literally appreciate faster than tech stocks. And hey, if you're new to our channel, welcome aboard. We're all about bringing you the most incredible automotive stories, so make sure you stick around till the end, because number one will absolutely destroy your expectations. This automotive legend commanded a price so insane that Enzo Ferrari himself called it the most beautiful car ever made. Number 12. Porsche 356 Speedster, 1954 to 1958. The Porsche 356 Speedster wasn't just a car, it was like someone took pure driving joy, wrapped it in the most honest curves imaginable, and said, here's your ticket to automotive heaven. When Max Hoffman convinced Porsche to build a stripped-down, open-top version of the 356, he accidentally created one of the most desirable classics ever made. This little German rocket ship was built for one purpose, to be the perfect weekend warrior. No fancy amenities, no complicated systems, just you, the road, and an air-cooled engine that sounded like mechanical angels singing at 6,000 RPM. The Speedster was so pure, so focused, that it made other sports cars look like they were trying too hard. But here's where it gets absolutely bonkers. A pristine 1958 Porsche 300 A1600 Speedster sold for $478,500 at Barrett-Jackson, and that was considered a bargain. Clean examples regularly cross the $300,000 mark, which is insane for a car that originally cost less than $3,000. The genius was in what Porsche didn't put in the Speedster. No side windows, no proper top, no creature comforts, just 60 horsepower of pure distilled driving experience. It was like they took the 356 Coupe and said, let's remove everything that isn't absolutely essential to going fast and having fun. Today, finding a real Speedster is like discovering buried treasure that also happens to be one of the most beautiful automotive shapes ever conceived. These cars created their own cult. People who understand that sometimes less really is more, especially when less looks this gorgeous. Number 11. Ferrari 275 GTB4, 1966 to 1968. Ferrari in the mid-1960s was basically showing off at this point. The 275 GTB4 wasn't just their answer to complaints that earlier models were too civilized. It was Maranello's way of proving they could build something that was simultaneously street-legal and track-ready while looking like automotive sculpture. This was peak Ferrari confidence wrapped in Pininfarina's most sensual bodywork. Those flowing lines, that aggressive nose, and the way the rear haunches flared like a predatory cat preparing to pounce. Every angle was designed to make your heart skip beats. The GTB4 looked fast, standing still, like velocity had been captured and given physical form. But the real magic happened when you fired up that Colombo V12. The 4 in GTB/4 stood for 4 camshafts, which meant this engine was basically a race motor wearing street clothes. 6 Weber carburetors feeding 12 cylinders created a symphony that made grown men weep with automotive lust. Here's where auction madness enters the picture. A 1967 Ferrari 275 GTB4 sold for $3,300,000 at R.M. Sotheby's. That's not appreciation. That's collectors recognizing that certain cars transcend mere transportation and become rolling art that also happens to go 160 miles per hour. The 275 GTB4 represented Ferrari at their absolute peak, sophisticated enough for grand touring, beautiful enough for art museums, and fast enough to embarrass dedicated race cars. It was the perfect balance of brutality and beauty that only the Italians seemed to understand. Number 10. Lamborghini Miura SV, 1971 to 1973. When Lamborghini unleashed the Miura SV, they basically declared war on the concept of subtle design. This wasn't just a supercar, it was Italian passion made manifest in aluminum and steel, designed by Marcello Gandini during what can only be described as a moment of pure artistic insanity. The SV was the ultimate evolution of the Miura. Everything that made the original special turned up to 11 and then broken off. Those wider fenders, that aggressive stance, and those haunting eyelashes around the headlights created automotive poetry that still makes people stop dead in their tracks 50 years later. This car didn't just establish the template for every supercar that followed. It created the blueprint for automotive desire itself. Before the Miura, supercars were basically elegant grand tourers. After the Miura, they were mid-engine sculptures designed to stop hearts and drop jaws. The auction numbers are absolutely insane. A 1972 Lamborghini Miura SV sold for $2,310,000 at RM Sotheby's Monterey. But here's the kicker. That was considered reasonable because clean SVs have crossed the $3 million mark for a car built by a tractor company that decided to make Ferrari jealous. The Miura SV's influence on automotive design cannot be overstated. Every exotic supercar built since 1971 has been consciously or unconsciously influenced by Gandini's masterpiece. It established proportions and drama that are still considered perfect today. Number 9. Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster, 1957 to 1963. After the legendary Gullwing Coupe proved that Mercedes could build the most beautiful car in the world, they faced an impossible challenge. How do you follow perfection? The answer was the 300 SL Roadster. Take everything magical about the Gullwing, add open-air romance, and somehow make it even more desirable. The Roadster was like the Gullwing's more social sibling, still devastatingly beautiful, still capable of 150+ miles per hour, but now you could hear that fuel-injected straight six singing its mechanical opera while the wind played through your hair. It was automotive theater elevated to the highest possible level. What made the Roadster truly special was how it improved on perfection. The lower door sills meant easier entry, the removable hardtop provided versatility, and the revised rear suspension made it handle better than the already excellent Gullwing. Mercedes didn't just create a convertible, they refined their masterpiece. The auction results prove its timeless appeal. A 1963 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster sold for $1,430,000 at Bonhams, and that was relatively modest. Pristine examples regularly cross the $1.8 million mark because collectors understand they're not just buying transportation, they're acquiring automotive art. The 300 SL Roadster became the symbol of 1950s sophistication, the car that movie stars and industrial titans drove when they wanted to remind the world that success should be beautiful, fast, and absolutely unforgettable. Now, if you're falling in love with these automotive time machines and their insane auction prices, do me a huge favor. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell because we're a growing channel and your support means everything. It really helps us reach more car enthusiasts like you. Trust me, we're just getting started with these legendary moneymakers. Number 8. Aston Martin DB5, 1963 to 1965. When Aston Martin designed the DB5, they apparently decided that British elegance needed to be weaponized. But what sealed the DB5's immortality wasn't just its stunning looks or incredible performance. It was becoming James Bond's ride in Goldfinger, creating an association between Aston Martin and effortless cool that persists 60 years later. The DB5 represented peak 1960s automotive sophistication, handcrafted British luxury with Italian-influenced curves and enough performance to embarrass supercars. Those proportions were absolutely perfect. Long hood, short deck, and surfaces that suggested both power and refinement in equal measure. But here's where the DB5's timeless appeal gets expensive. A 1965 Aston Martin DB5 convertible sold for $2,090,000 at RM Sotheby's. The Bond connection didn't just make it famous, it made it financially immortal. Even DB5s without movie history regularly sell for over $1 million because the entire model line became legendary. The interior was peak British craftsmanship, leather so supple it felt like wearing silk gloves, wood trim that looked like it came from a gentleman's club, and switchgear that operated with mechanical precision that modern cars can't match. This was luxury before luxury became confused with gadgets. What makes the DB5 timelessly appealing is its perfect balance of brutality and beauty. It looked elegant enough for royal events, yet powerful enough for high-speed chases. A gentleman's car that could also be dangerous when necessary. That duality is automotive perfection. Number 7. Shelby Cobra 427, 1965 to 1967. Carroll Shelby looked at the elegant AC Ace and said, "You know what this British sports car needs? The biggest, meanest American V8 we can physically fit." The result was automotive insanity that somehow worked perfectly. The Cobra 427, where European finesse met American brutality in holy matrimony. The 427 Cobra was like putting a rocket engine in a work of art and somehow making it more beautiful. Those flowing aluminum curves hid enough power to embarrass Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and anything else with the misfortune of lining up next to it at a stoplight. This wasn't just fast, it was violently, addictively fast. Here's where auction madness takes over. An original 1967 Shelby 427 Cobra sold for $5,500,000 at Barrett-Jackson Scottsdale. That's not a typo. $5.5 million for a car that was basically a hot rod with perfect proportions. The Cobra's value reflects its status as American automotive royalty. What made the Cobra timelessly appealing was its honest simplicity. No electronic aids, no complicated systems, just 425 horsepower of Ford big block fury channeled through your right foot to rear wheels that were perpetually trying to find traction. It was pure, undiluted driving experience. The Cobra's cultural impact was enormous. It became the symbol of American hot rodding excellence, proving that sometimes the best engineering solution is also the simplest. Take something beautiful, add massive power, and enjoy the legendary results. Number 6. Ferrari Daytona, 1968 to 1973. The Ferrari 365 GTB4 Daytona was Ferrari's response to critics who said the company was getting too soft. What they created wasn't just a return to form, it was a 174-mile-per-hour middle finger to anyone who doubted that Ferrari could still build the most beautiful, most powerful, most desirable Grand Tourer in the world. Named after Ferrari's 1-2-3 finish at the 1967 24 Hours of Daytona, this car was pure Italian vengeance wrapped in Pininfarina bodywork that looked like it had been carved by Michelangelo. Those sharp lines, that aggressive nose, and the way it sat low and predatory made it look like automotive lightning captured in steel. The Daytona's 4.4-liter V12 was a masterpiece of mechanical fury, 352 horsepower that screamed to 7,500 RPM while making sounds that belonged in operas, not engine bays. This was the last of the great front-engine Ferrari supercars, and it went out swinging for the fences. Auction prices reflect its legendary status. A 1971 Ferrari Daytona Spider sold for $2,200,000 at RM Sotheby's Monterey. The convertible Spiders are especially valuable because only 122 were ever built, making them rarer than common sense and more valuable than most people's houses. The Daytona represented Ferrari at their most uncompromising, beautiful enough for concours events, fast enough to dominate racetracks, and rare enough to ensure that spotting one in the wild was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you'd remember forever. Number 5. Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7, 1973. When Porsche built the 1973 911 Carrera RS 2.7, they accidentally created automotive perfection. This wasn't just a sports car, it was the distilled essence of everything that made the 911 legendary, concentrated into what many consider the greatest sports car ever built. The RS 2.7 was born for homologation, but what emerged was pure automotive poetry. That ducktail spoiler, those wide fenders, and that purposeful stance created a car that looked like it was designed by racing gods who understood both aerodynamics and beauty. Every line served function while creating timeless visual drama. But here's where the auction insanity reaches new levels. A 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7 lightweight sold for $1,540,000 at RM Sotheby's. For a car that originally cost around $11,000, that's appreciation that makes real estate look like a savings account. The RS has become the holy grail of Porsche collecting. The genius was in Porsche's obsessive attention to weight reduction and performance optimization. Thinner glass, lightweight panels, stripped interiors, everything unnecessary was removed, leaving only the pure essence of what made driving magical. It was minimalism in service of maximum experience. Today, the Carrera RS 2.7 is considered the benchmark against which all other sports cars are measured. It represents the perfect balance of power, handling, and involvement that modern cars chase but rarely achieve. It's not just a classic, it's automotive perfection preserved in time. Number 4. McLaren F1, 1992 to 1998. The McLaren F1 wasn't just built to be the ultimate supercar, it was engineered to be the greatest driver's car ever conceived. When Gordon Murray designed the F1, he didn't compromise on anything: cost, complexity, or common sense. The result was automotive perfection that cost $815,000 when new and is worth over $20 million today. This was engineering taken to its absolute limit: a carbon fiber monocoque, a naturally aspirated BMW V12, and a 3-seat layout with the driver in the center like a Formula One car. The F1 was designed without consideration for regulations, cost, or practicality, just pure performance perfection. The auction numbers are absolutely mental. McLaren F1s are expected to fetch over $20 million at auction, making them some of the most valuable cars ever sold. A 1995 McLaren F1 sold for $19.8 million at Bonhams, and that wasn't even a pristine example. Perfect F1s have crossed the $25 million mark. What made the F1 timelessly appealing was its uncompromising purity. No electronic aids, no all-wheel drive, no automatic transmission, just 627 horsepower, and enough speed to hit 240 miles per hour. It was the last analog supercar built without regard for safety regulations or cost constraints. The F1 represented the peak of what was possible when brilliant engineers were given unlimited budgets and told to create perfection. It remains the standard by which all supercars are measured, nearly 30 years after its debut. Number 3. Ferrari 250 GTO, 1962 to 1964. Only 36 Ferrari 250 GTOs were ever built, making them rarer than hope and more valuable than most countries' GDP. But rarity alone doesn't create legendary status. The GTO earned its position through perfect combination of beauty, performance, and racing pedigree that has never been matched. In 2018, a 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO sold for $48.4 million at RM Sotheby's auction, setting the record for the highest price ever paid for a car at auction. But here's the insane part. That record has been beaten multiple times since then, with a 1962 Ferrari 330 LM/250 GTO selling for $51.7 million in 2023. The 250 GTO was pure Pininfarina genius. Every curve served both beauty and function, creating a car that looked like sculpture but performed like a weapon. That long nose housed a V12 engine that sang opera at 8,000 RPM, while the fastback roofline provided aerodynamic efficiency that dominated 1960s racing. This was the peak of an era when racing cars were built by hand by craftsmen who measured success in victories, not profit margins. Each GTO was individually crafted, making every car slightly unique, while maintaining the perfect overall design that defined automotive beauty. The 250 GTO's racing pedigree was unmatched. These cars dominated international racing in their era, winning everything from Le Mans to the Tour de France automobile. They weren't garage queens, they were weapons designed to win races while looking like automotive poetry in motion. Number 2. Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR 1955. When we talk about the most expensive car ever sold at auction, we're talking about automotive history that transcends transportation and enters the realm of cultural artifacts. The 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe sold for $142 million in 2022, making it not just the most expensive car ever sold, but one of the top 10 most expensive items ever sold at auction. This wasn't just a car, it was a prototype race car that Mercedes built as the ultimate expression of their engineering capabilities. Only 2 were ever made, and one had been sitting in Mercedes's museum for decades before the company shocked the world by deciding to sell it. The Uhlenhaut Coupe was based on Mercedes's legendary W196 Formula One car and their 300 SLR race car, but with a roof and creature comforts that made it theoretically street legal. It was capable of over 180 miles per hour in 1955, making it faster than most modern supercars while looking like it belonged in an art museum. Named after Mercedes chief engineer Rudolf Uhlenhaut, who used one as his daily driver, imagine that commute. These cars represented the pinnacle of 1950s automotive technology. They were so advanced that their engineering wouldn't look out of place in modern race cars. The $142 million sale price wasn't just about rarity. It was the world acknowledging that certain objects transcend their original purpose and become symbols of human achievement. The Uhlenhaut Coupe represents the peak of an era when manufacturers built cars without regard for cost or regulations, pursuing only perfection. Number 1. Jaguar E-Type, 1961 to 1975. At the top of our list sits the car that Enzo Ferrari, the man who created some of history's most beautiful machines, called the most beautiful car ever made. When Jaguar unveiled the E-Type in 1961, they didn't just introduce a sports car, they redefined what automotive beauty could be. Malcolm Sayers' aerodynamic masterpiece looked like it had been carved by wind itself, with proportions so perfect they seemed impossible. That impossibly long hood, those covered headlights, and that fastback roofline created a silhouette that was instantly recognizable and eternally beautiful. The E-Type was born from Jaguar's racing heritage, an evolution of the legendary D-Type that dominated Le Mans. But while the D-Type was built purely for racing, the E-Type brought that same performance and beauty to the street in a package that ordinary mortals could actually buy and drive. Here's where the E-Type's auction performance gets expensive. Pristine Series 1 E-Types regularly sell for $300,000 to $500,000, with the most desirable examples crossing the $1 million mark. A 1961 Jaguar E-Type Series 1 3.8 Roadster sold for $522,500 at Barrett-Jackson, proving its timeless desirability. But the E-Type's true genius wasn't just in its looks. It was in how Jaguar delivered 150-mile-per-hour supercar performance at a fraction of Ferrari prices. While Italians were charging fortunes for similar speed, Jaguar offered world-class capability wrapped in the world's most beautiful body for the price of a luxury sedan. The E-Type's influence on automotive design cannot be overstated. Every sports car designer since 1961 has been consciously or unconsciously influenced by Sayers' masterpiece, creating a legacy that proves true automotive beauty never goes out of style. That's your countdown of 12 timeless classic cars that never lose their charm, and their incredible auction values prove it. Which one made your heart skip a beat? Drop your dream car in the comments below. I bet most of you are now checking lottery numbers after hearing these auction prices. Before you go, if you enjoyed this journey through automotive legends, please hit that like button. It really helps our channel grow and reach more car lovers like you. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We're working hard to bring you the best automotive content, and we'd love to have you as part of our growing family. Hit subscribe for more automotive legends worth millions. And remember, they literally don't make them like they used to, and the auction results prove it.